We have made it to part 3 in our series on 10 surprisingly halal things in Islam. Welcome back to another episode. My name is Leroy Kenton, and for this video what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at things that are permissible in Islam, as well as looking at practices that are actually encouraged in the religion. So there's going to be a mixture of the two as we go through this list, but either way guys, let's begin. First thing we're going to talk about at number 10 is begging. If someone is under the pressure of need, like real need, and if they feel really forced to ask for financial help from the government or another individual, then that person is completely blameless. As a matter of fact, it's recorded that the Prophet Muhammad said these words: begging is similar to scratching the flesh off your face. So if someone wants to save his face, he shall avoid it, except for asking from the ruler or asking in case of dire need. Number 9 is earning through agriculture. This is something that's really encouraged in Islam. In the Quran, while referring to his bounties as well as favors to humans, there's a passage that mentions Allah's principles required for the pursuit of agriculture. Muslims believe that God has spread out the earth and made it very suitable to be fertile for cultivation and production, and that this is a bounty to human beings which they ought to recall and to be thankful for. Over in the Quran, Surah 71 verses 19 to 20, it says, "And Allah has made for you the earth an expanse, that you may follow therein roads of passage." Painting comes in at number 8. This relates to a question that many people have. So just like drawing, painting, or photography, they're either prohibited or disapproved, depending on what comes closest to the spirit of Islamic law. Of course, their subject matter shouldn't be anything sexually provocative, and also these things shouldn't contain someone that is considered sacred, like the prophets, for example. Next up at number 7, we have trade. The Prophet Muhammad, by his words and deeds, he laid out the rules for trade, encouraging Muslims to engage in it. Among some of these sayings are as follows: "An honest and trustworthy merchant will be with the martyrs on the day of resurrection." Also, Islam does provide a huge opportunity for international trade every single year. Like the annual Hajj season brings together at one place millions of different Muslims from all around the world. And over in the Quran, Surah 22 verses 27 to 28, it says, "And proclaim to the people the Hajj pilgrimage. They will come to you on foot and on every lean camel. They will come from every distant pass, that they may witness benefits for themselves and mention the name of Allah on known days over what He has provided for them of sacrificial animals. So eat of them and feed the miserable and poor." Next up, we're looking at employment at number 6. Muslims, they are free to seek employment in all manner of different offices of government and different organizations, as well as working for individuals and entrepreneurs, just as long as they're able to fulfill their job duties to a satisfactory level, as well as carry out their Muslim obligations. However, Muslims are not permitted to seek jobs that they are not fit for. If, however, a person knows that there is no one else that is really qualified like them to do a particular job except them, and that if he doesn't take the job, then public interest will be damaged or ruined altogether, then that person should come forward and step up and take on that role. The Quran actually tells the story of the prophet Joseph, where Joseph tells the ruler this: "Joseph said, 'Appoint me over the storehouse of the land. Indeed, I will be a knowing guardian.'" And that's taken from Surah 12 verses 55. So this is something that Muslims look to as an example of this. By the way guys, we've reached halfway in this video, and if you haven't seen our other videos about halal things in Islam, I recommend them. I'm going to link to a couple of them below in the video description section. We've also spoken about haram things. That's also a very fascinating and interesting series. I'll link to that down below as well. Next up at number 5, we're talking about looking at a man and woman. Now, a woman may look at a man's body apart from his awra, or private parts, which is from the navel to the knee, as long as her looking at him doesn't contain any kind of lust. The Prophet let Aisha watch the Abyssinians while they were engaging in spare play in the courtyard of the Prophet's mosque. She watched their performance until she had enough and she ended off her day going to sleep. And similarly, a man is permitted to look at a woman's face and hands since they are not her private parts, just as long as this looking doesn't contain any lust, as well as there's no form of temptation that's taking over him. Next up, kind of similar to number 5, let's talk about public baths. In consideration of Islam's concerns for women covering up their private parts and not revealing themselves to the public, it is proper to cover, and the Prophet did warn Muslim women against entering public baths and even disrobing in front of other women. An exception to this, though, is made for women who suffer from some kind of illness so that they have to take a bath that would be beneficial for them, and also for women that have given birth. Following childbirth, they say warm baths are very, very, very good, or even giving birth in a warm bath. And this is referenced in the hadith by Abdullah ibn Amr, who narrated that the Prophet Muhammad said concerning public baths that men must not enter them without a lower garment. Women are not to enter them except when sick or after childbirth. Another touchy topic, no pun intended, is masturbation. Now, the majority of scholars consider this completely haram, and Imam Malik bases his judgment on this verse. And they who guard their private parts except from their wives or those their right hand possesses, for indeed they will not be blamed. But whoever seeks beyond that, then those are the transgressors. And that's taken from Surah 23 verses 5 to 7. He argues that the person masturbating is someone who craves something beyond that. However, according to the Hanbali school of thought, Hanbali jurists, they permit masturbation under 2 conditions only, and that is for the fear of committing fornication or adultery, and the second is not having the means to marry. Alright, what about seeing the one that you want to marry? In Islam, it is permissible for a Muslim man to see the woman to whom he intends to propose marriage before taking all the further steps so that he can enter the marriage knowing what lies ahead of him. Otherwise, if he has not seen her before the marriage, he may not find her looks to be of his liking and may regret marrying her. Al-Mughira ibn Shubha said this: I asked for a woman in marriage, and Allah's messenger asked me whether I had looked at her. When I replied that I had not, he said, then look at her, for it may produce love between you. I went to her parents and informed them of the Prophet's advice. They seemed to disapprove of the idea. Their daughter heard the conversation from her room and said, if the Prophet has told you to look at me, then look. I looked at her and subsequently I married her. We're gonna end off this video talking about female consent. It is a girl's right to make the decision concerning her marriage, and her father or her guardian is not permitted at all to override any of her wishes. Now, in the hadith, it's recorded that the Prophet Muhammad said these words: a woman who has been previously married has more right concerning her person than her guardian, and a virgin's consent must be asked about herself, her consent being her silence. Ibn Majah also reported this in the hadith: a girl came to the Prophet and informed him that her father had married her to her cousin against her wishes, whereupon the Prophet allowed her to exercise her choice. She then said, I reconciled to what my father did, but I wanted to make it known to women that fathers have no say in this matter. And that is where we're going to end off this episode. This was a look at 10 surprisingly halal things in Islam, part 3. You guys have been really enjoying these videos, so I really hope you liked this one as well. As always, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And before you guys get out of here, a reminder that I do have those recommended videos where we talk about a lot of other halal things in Islam as well as haram things. Those videos are pretty cool, so yeah, check them out. The links are down below. Other than that, guys, that is it for me. I'm gonna get out of here, so stay awesome, stay educated, and I'm gonna see you next time in another video. Later.